listeners. This is Russell. Welcome back to Channel 14. This is part 4 of how to become an audiobook narrator, building blocks of audiobooking. We last time talked about the importance of investing in your new career. Part of your homework, which I think I left unstated, was to not spend any money, and that should have been one of your favorite assignments ever. The other part of the homework was to invest some time in front of the microphone. This really is a standing assignment for the next few parts, something you should be doing regularly, even daily. Now, when we talk about investing, that concept got me to thinking about how do you know what to invest in? You know you need to put some things into your career, but how do you determine what those things are and in what priority you should tackle those? Now, I guarantee you that investing time in front of the microphone will not be wasted, but there are many other areas that will need some resources as you develop yourself. Before we talk about the particular building blocks of audiobooking, let's take a familiar example and break it down. Let's think for a minute about photography. To take a picture, what do you need? First of all, you'll have to have a camera, of course. You need a lens, which may or may not be attached to the camera, but let's consider that a separate entity. You need some film or something on which to record that image. You have the subject or the composition that makes up the photo itself. And then you have the processing, whether you're doing that in a darkroom or possibly in Adobe Photoshop or other processing software. Now, you need all these pieces, but they don't all have to be the best in the world to get a great photograph. You've certainly seen a photo where the impact of the photo was far above the quality of the tools that were used to make the photo, like maybe a Polaroid that showed an exceptionally moving scene. Something where effectively the whole was more than the sum of the parts used to make it. Now, when you think about what makes a great picture or makes something else great, like maybe a great audiobook, remember that you can produce something great with average tools as long as some part of that production is of excellent quality. Bad cameras can still take great pictures if there's at least one great thing included in the mix. Now, with that in mind, let's take a look at audiobook narrator building blocks. These are in no particular order, and you've probably considered these at some point. Number 1, your voice. This is the most obvious. Odds are you're looking into voiceover work because people have told you that you have a good voice. 2, the performance. The ability to be a storyteller, an educator, or motivator, or whatever it is that the manuscript calls for. 3, the room, the environment where you're doing the recording, considering things like outside noise and soundproofing, comfort, efficiency, and the sound qualities of the room itself. 4, your chain, basically the hardware and the process that gets it from your voice into the computer. This includes things like your microphone, your interface, a preamp, and your own technique on the microphone. And number 5, production processes, things like compression, normalization, and mastering. All these are required, and over the course of the series, we're going to take each of these in turn and break them down into their own constituent building blocks, some in more detail than others. But for now, we're going to stay at the macro level and consider them each individually as a whole. So, here's your homework for the week, in addition, of course, to spending some time in front of the microphone and evaluating those recordings. 1, which of these 5 is the most critical and which matters the least? Rank them in your order of importance. And part 2, which is your strongest characteristic and which is your weakest? For each of these 5, rank yourself from 0 to 10, with 0 being non-existent. For example, I don't even own a microphone, or I don't know how to produce an MP3. That'd be the lowest possible score. And 10 would be the best possible score. Maybe compare it to the best audiobook or narration that you've ever listened to. Something you really enjoyed, like the Twilight Saga or the Harry Potter series, or really anything off the Audible Top 100. Now, think about this through the week. See if your priorities change from day to day and make a note of this somewhere, because over the course of your career, you can use this list to make sure you're investing your funds and your time and effort into where it should go, where it's going to bring you the best reward. There's no point in investing a lot of money in one area if that's not your highest priority. Maybe you need a new microphone. Maybe instead of a microphone, you need some coaching. Maybe instead of coaching, you need to fix the room where you're doing your recording. It really doesn't matter if you have a great performance if your room or your production chain are lagging far behind and they ruin what you've put in. So take some time on that over the next few days. Put together your list, rank yourself, and we'll come back and look at this in more detail later and figure out the best way to improve your recording process. Thanks for joining me. Hope you learned something today. Keep up with your homework. Make sure you're doing that recording and listening to those recordings. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll see you later.